All right, here's the master's program. This is going to end off, I'm going to combine taps and multiple juggles into this one video. And I'm going to go over what you need for both of these. We kind of went over multiple juggles in the last video, but I'll go in more in depth on how you can practice. And we're going to go over the Tama control needed for taps and juggling to spike after them. So first off, I'm just going to go over the juggles because we kind of touched on them before. It's just repetition. The more you practice, the more you'll be able to do. Just after you practice one, practice getting two. Once you can do two, you're going to be able to do more. Once you get to about 10 juggles, it's kind of the infinite, like the only thing that stops you is your string tangling up. Like this is a good run, but a lot of the times my string will tangle at like 3 or 5 still. It's just that string keeping them on their own sides and acting like there's a wall here is the most important part with string control, because once these cross, first of all, it's hard, and second off, the string will start to tangle. So, and just the principle that I went over already, the one goes up, one goes down. As this is going up, this should be coming down. Same thing, keep them on their own side so they don't tangle. And just practice. Get the Ken flips down, that slower Ken flip. And now that we're in the master's program, I want you to, once you get to a point where you can start juggling multiple times, start focusing on the Tama and just try to get that flip to spike. If you can see it's not going to land on spike, cup it, go to spike. And then you can gauge off how close you got from the cup. But just try to get it to spike. Sometimes you're going to get lucky and it's going to land on there and it's going to feel good. So there's no harm in trying. You're just going to dent up your Ken. So do your multiple juggles. If you're not going to hit spike, cup it and try to go to spike. That's what I have for multiple juggles. It's not very it's not as deep as taps are. There's not as many tips that I can give you. It's basically just practice. The more you practice on juggles, the easier it'll get, the more natural it'll feel. But that is not the case with taps. So I'll get into that. And with taps, I'm just going to cover the Tama control with taps. It'll basically cover everything up to this point in the course as well. So we already introduced the 1.5 swap toss where it's not spinning at all. Let me actually do it for you guys. There we go. So the toss is straight up like this. And there's a few players, Ryoga, he does a lot of this. He tosses a 1.5 toss with a lot of his tricks. If you watch some of his videos, he will tap and he'll toss it like a 1.5. He is the best player in the world as of right now. So if you guys want to learn how to do that, you just have to learn how to do the 1.5 toss out of multiple tricks. It's not as simple as just doing it like a 1.5 swap. You have to learn how to do it out of instas. I've tried to learn a little bit. It's just so difficult. But it is more consistent if you get it down. It just takes years to get that down. So I recommend all beginners to learn to spin instead of the 1.5. So out of taps and out of instas, you'll be spinning, and then you can know where the hole is. Then we can flip to our spike. So now to taps, I'm going to give you some main principles and then just show you some examples. So main principle with taps, there's multiple taps. I guess you can tap here, and there's spike taps as well. Spike taps are not as common, but I'm just going to cover regular taps in this video. There's a spike tap. So regular taps, we want to have these. There is a few prerequisites to doing taps. You have to be able to do a 1-turn lighthouse like that and a 1-turn airplane like that. And the airplane is the most important one because that rotation right there is the exact pull-up that we're going to use when we tap. It's going to feel a little fast, but we need the power on the taps. So we should be able to do this. We should be able to do this. Looks like I can't do it. We should be able to do that. and more importantly, the one-turn airplane. So now that we can do those, we can pull up, and you can kind of see where we're going to tap. That's where we're tapping. We're doing the one pull up, and we're tapping. I just want you guys to practice this, just getting used to hitting the cup. A lot of people tell others to practice cush tapping. So cush tapping is where you lightly tap it and go to the spike to get comfortable. I don't actually recommend this because we're not hitting it that soft when we do taps. So get used to the one tap motion where you're here. If you want, you can tap on the base cup. It's kind of like a cush tap still, but it's a harder hit. So now that I'll also show where you're aiming for. So when this comes around, we want to not hit it while it's here because we're not gonna have enough power, and you have to hit it way harder. We wanna wait, not even till it's horizontal. We wanna wait till it reaches kind of past this horizontal plane, and kind of as far as we can, as long as we can wait, the harder that first tap will come around. And also keeping this straight is very important. Your first tap is the most important tap to your other, once you start doing multiple taps. The first tap is the most important one to keep this Ken straight and for the power. So if you hit this too soft, you're not gonna be able to get it around for 4. So you might be able to get 2, but this third one's not gonna be as powerful because you're gonna have to hit up here for the timing. So that first tap is more important. Wait for it to come around until it breaks this horizontal plane right here. Then we tap. I've seen people aim for the middle of this. As you can see, I aim for the very edge of this. I think you don't have to hit it as hard and it makes taps go around faster, but you are gonna destroy your Kens. So whatever ends up working for you, you can aim for the ring stall. And if you aim for the ring stall, you're gonna hit the base right here, but you're gonna hit this indent and you won't chip the end of these as much. But I just don't think it taps as well. So now that we have the toss down or the pull up and our first tap, we can start learning to catch it. Just like that. That's our simple one tap. We can practice our inward throws and catching. You can do lighthouse and practice your inward catches. It's really awkward to catch a one tap because that inward, but that just takes practice. We can also drill catching from a lighthouse flip, or just throwing the Ken, just like we were in other Ken flip videos. So learning how to catch inward, and when we do a single tap, we're not hitting it as hard as like I was talking about before, because if you hit it too hard, it's going to double rotate. We want to hit it kind of softly, because there I even hit it too hard, because we have to catch it inward. But I still want you guys to focus on waiting late for hitting the Ken, because we're going to go on to multiple taps. And I think that the even numbers are easier than the odds. It's different for certain people. But the evens, it's easier to catch the Ken because it's coming toward you. And I think it's not as hard to hit just one more tap at the end, because the last tap is not as important, because it can barely tap it and it'll perfectly rotate back to your hand. So that's one tap. And now I'm gonna show you two tap. And notice the spin on the Tama. The camera might not pick it up, but I'm spinning the Tama after I tap there, and I'm bringing the ball under on this side to keep them separated still from my juggle. You don't want to throw it right here because the string can tangle up. You want to go under and throw it over here, just so they're separated still. So then when you go into your juggle, they're separated and they won't get tangled. So I'm spinning. This comes back down to my hand, or sorry, this will be up here flipping. It's spinning. I grab the Tama, boom, catch the Ken, and it should rotate perfectly like this. And even when you get to the ear and you don't have your Tama control completely dialed in, just catch it on the cup and then go to spike. All right. So the tips that really helped me get to 6-tap in the first year of playing is waiting for the Ken. This is, I already talked about this, but this is very important. Like, I need you guys to really focus on waiting to hit the Ken. This is crucial for multiple taps, not really 1 or 2 tap. But once you get to 4, the waiting really matters. Because you won't have enough backbone to get to those later taps. The first tap matters so much more compared to the later taps. Let me try to get a 4-tap for you guys. 3-tap is just as hard as 1. If you can do 2, that inward throw is so awkward to me. 3-tap took way longer than 4. Once I got 3 and went to 4, 4 felt like a 2-tap to me. But I do recommend still doing 1 through 4. I skipped 5 and went to 6, but I probably should do 5 to learn that inward catch. But I just value the higher number of taps instead, and I use even numbers more anyway. So I think they're cleaner in lines and stuff. So 2, 4, 6, and I should be getting 8 soon. But the tip of waiting for the Ken is really important for multiple taps. Another tip that really helps is the beeswax that I talked about in the first, I believe the first lecture of the whole series. Putting beeswax under these cups keeps them from sliding up. Like sometimes when you're tapping, these will just fly off because the vibration of the Ken will make these shift up, and it won't tap as well because it's not as solid. And taps are super hard. That's why they're in the master's program. So it just takes practice. I've played for the past year, probably an hour a day on average, and I probably do half of my practice was probably on taps. So I skipped a lot of the fundamentals and went straight to taps. But I also think that it made me a better player because I was able to pick up harder tricks, so the easier tricks felt like nothing to me. I don't really recommend others do that because not everybody learns the way I do. So I think the average person learning to play Kendama should follow the basics and go through the fundamentals before they get to tapping and multiple juggles. And also with tapping to spike, the biggest thing that I had to focus on was changing my grip to get that toss down. The spin is super important for good Tama control to get to stalls and things. Let me try to do a 2-tap to stall really quick. That's not a 2-tap to stall. There we go. So 2-tap to bird. Without that toss being good, and it would be all wobbly, this isn't going to come around nice enough for me to catch it on bird. So focusing on that is really important, that toss to your Tama control and being able to juggle to spike. So I changed my grip a few times. I've messed with string length. You just have to find what you like for taps, and don't be scared to experiment with different Kens with different weights. I like to have a Tama that's 2 to 10 grams heavier than the Ken for taps, because it'll send the Ken a lot harder without me having to hit so hard. Also, keeping your wrist loose when tapping and not so tight to where you have to move your whole arm, but it's kind of like a wrist motion. If you watch a lot of slow-mo videos, you'll see their wrist kind of loose and they're not moving their whole shoulder. So repetition is your biggest friend, and practice is what will get you better at it. And also practicing taps out of different positions. So from airplane, you can practice taps. And with airplane, I had a few issues because usually when you're holding your Tama, it's sideways when you're tapping. So you're not tapping over the bevel. You want to tap to the side of the bevel. And with airplane, it's right under. So you're tapping on the bevel. So it sends this random ways. So when you do an airplane tap, you want to lift up and wait till it gets to that point. And you kind of rotate your wrist a little bit. So it's tilt to the side of the bevel when you tap. That way you get solid taps. Same thing with airplane, or sorry, with lighthouse. You can rotate your bevel a little bit, and then just practice getting taps. You can tap to the spike, to cups. Just get used to tapping and work your way up to higher numbers. But focus on your Tama control out of the taps. Like, you shouldn't go on to 2-tap until you can juggle to spike from the 1-tap, because that's the finished trick. You don't want to just be able to tap and that's it. Like, being able to do a 3-tap and then it just falls. Yeah, it's impressive, but it's not that impressive because you didn't finish a trick. So with that, that's going to cover everything in the master's program. I want to thank you guys for sticking around and watching these videos. I hope you find some of this information helpful. If you have any questions, contact me on social medias. All of them are going to be at Kendama College. And I'll gladly talk to you guys and help you out with anything you need. This is the end of the master's program, and I'm going to hit a few tricks just to send you guys off.